The art of being happy. Isn't it a bit presumptuous to title a YouTube video like that? I mean, who am I to give advice on happiness to the whole world? Am I really that happy myself? These were the thoughts spinning around in my head as I started writing this video. But then it hit me. What would actually be selfish and presumptuous is keeping all these little personal discoveries from the last 10 years to myself. That would be small-minded, cowardly even, because if there's one thing I'm pretty sure of today, it's that people of my generation, and I'm talking broadly, those aged 18 to 35, have rarely been so lost in their relationship with life. We've all become, myself included, like little ships adrift, constantly asking, which way do we go? What should we believe in? What are we living for? And really, it's not that surprising. Much to the chagrin of some frustrated boomers, we are the heirs of 3 generations who lived either in survival mode, thanks to world wars, or with a sacrificial utilitarian approach to life. For many of our parents and grandparents, living was about surviving or working until you could work no more. Given the historical and political landscape back then, that was indeed the most adaptive behavior. But today, things are starting to settle down. We might even be entering a period that feels like a calm after the storm, a moment of quiet. Now, I'm not saying life has become a carefree joyride, not at all, but it seems we're stepping into what could be called a different phase. Around me, I see more and more young people my age coming to the same realizations, regardless of social class. They watch their parents slowly but surely and inevitably approach the end of their lives, some without ever really having lived their dreams or even fully embraced life. They see the state of the world and are hit head-on with the fleeting nature of their own existence. They also feel the system's algorithmic and economic claws closing in on them. In the face of this existential squeeze, they look up to the sky and, damn, I love it when you do that. When you all look up and without even realizing it, ask in unison, but wait, why am I here? What does it mean to be happy? Why now? Why me, here and now, instead of not at all? And then the big one, how can I make this brief stint on Earth as enjoyable and inspiring as possible? And it's in those moments you realize, I must have a mission. I'm here for a reason, and I'm not going to let some ridiculous system steal my life away. I love you when you ask the forbidden questions, when you refuse to let life just pass you by, when you allow yourself to have expectations about life. Because we're not just here to eat, to shit, to sell our time, to consume, to dream, and to sit back only to start all over again each day. It's true, none of us asked to be here right now, on this rock, hurtling through infinite space at 630 kilometers per second. So, why not make the most of it? Let me try to be happy and turn my life into something more than just a slow, endless complaint. And when I talk to you about happiness, I'm not referring to some fictional, elitist, and superficial happiness that's been sold to us all our lives. I'm not talking about a near-divine state of constant, reassuring contentment. I'm not talking about an abundance of fictitious pleasures. No, not only does that not exist, but even if it did, I don't think I'd want it. Because that kind of happiness would be detached from life itself. The happiness we need to seek is imperfect, but it's within reach, so incredibly within reach. And it's already incredible if we can just graze it with our fingertips. It took me 25 years to understand what true happiness is, the real, modest happiness that we, as mere mortals, are gently allowed to have. And of course, I'm still fumbling through it, but I've arrived at a few preliminary conclusions. Happiness, I believe, starts with a mindset, a drive, a series of small daily battles beautifully won. It's a collection of tools and insights we carry proudly, close to it our hearts. Now, everyone lives their life as they can or as they want. I'll leave that for you to decide. But there is a common foundation, an unshakable core of human happiness that's as old as time itself, though no one really talks about it much these days. As for me, I learned it through direct experience. In other words, I fell, got back up a bit bruised, and much more disillusioned. I grabbed my notebook and jotted down my observations, trying to do better the next time. Sure, I'm just at the beginning of the road, I'm only 25, but I have this fierce habit of taking notes on life and refusing to tolerate unanswered questions or letting my own consciousness drift off. And this podcast, at its core, is nothing more than that, scribbled notes on the potholes of life. So today I've still got plenty of chasms and peaks to explore, but at least I've managed to pack a pretty decent backpack with tools that actually work for the journey ahead. And before you set off on your own adventure, well, you too need your little backpack. That's why today I want to share with you my 4 daily tools for staying balanced in my mind and body, and most importantly, for chasing that existential spark, that thing that makes the days feel too short, that makes you feel like you're chasing something invisible and warm that's always just ahead of you. Now, will you achieve happiness with a capital H by following this advice? The kind of happiness that you've been promised all your life? I'm afraid not. But for me, these 4 insights have definitely made me more fun, more joyful, more confident, and they continue to stick with me everywhere I go, helping me move forward on my little path. Sure, there are still bumps and potholes along the way, but the most important thing, just keep moving forward. When we talk about happiness, there's a common pitfall. We either end up drowning in vague metaphysical ideas or handing out advice that most people can't really apply to their lives. Today, I'm aiming to do the opposite. I asked myself, what's the essential stuff? What should never leave your side? What's the foundation you rest on today for your own happiness? And what are the most pervasive sources of existential discomfort in our strange modern world? I've identified 4 key areas that I'm going to share with you today: lethargy, identity, the body, and access to the divine. If you can address these 4 aspects, you'll be that rare, smiling anomaly in the crowd. I promise you that. Tackle these 4 dimensions, and everything else will simply be a matter of time and cheerful obsession. These 4 pieces of advice are basic. Here, I'm kindly but firmly brushing aside philosophy, deep thinking, and mental overanalysis. Now, don't get me wrong, thinking has done a lot for me, and I'll never turn my back on it. But it's never been able to make me truly happy on its own. I had to learn how to make it dance with something else, because what we need today are clear, simple truths to lean on, not just big ideas or lofty, empty principles. So, today we're talking about getting back to the basics. Welcome to the Andrew Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's dive in. First advice, attack your wall every day with passion. If I could shout this from the rooftops or turn it into a sacred commandment that we all had to repeat every morning as the sun rises, I swear I would. Attack your wall, my friend, with passion. Human beings have a natural tendency toward entropy, meaning that if I stay here, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling for 1 day, then 2, then 3, my sense of personal coherence will slowly start to crumble. I'll begin to feel worse and worse. If I do nothing, my self-confidence will gradually erode. When we sit idle, nothing happens. The world always needs us to start playing our part. The foundation of personal meaning begins with a small daily rebellion, endlessly repeated. Because for the grand gears of destiny to start turning, you've got to first put in some effort. I often say the question isn't whether destiny exists, but whether you're able to follow and honor yours. So, get moving. Put yourself in a position to receive what life has in store for you. Whether we like it or not, within this strange, domesticated primate we call humans, there's a fundamental and irresistible drive. You must do. This instinct leads to magnificent leaps in civilization and, on a smaller scale, to lives that are truly and fully lived. But on the other side of this drive lies an ancient, regressive, and often fatal tendency for many people: lethargy. It's the slow retreat into forgetting oneself, finding comfort in avoidance, endlessly postponing tasks, denying action, and settling into a fatalistic shrug that indulges in an existential slump. These 2 forces, momentum and lethargy, have always waged the bloodiest of battles within us, a silent battle, the battle of destiny. And today, with our phones and everything that the modern age floods our minds with, it's clear that the scales tip heavily toward lethargy. This means that now, more than ever, we must dedicate ourselves to action, to our mission, to our work. Because out of these 2 forces, only one will give us the fire we so desperately need. Lethargy promises the absence of trouble and offers nothing but temporary peace and eternal regret. On the other hand, small, consistent efforts don't promise much and don't boast, but they offer their most loyal servants all the wonders of the world. But that's an insider's secret. However, you must find your true calling, the one that matters above all others, the task that is immensely important to the purest and most sovereign part within you, the one that activates your being, and at the same time seems almost insurmountable at first glance. This mission must be played out over the long haul. Man is a resilient trotter. Never forget that. A resilient, mission-driven, and stubborn trotter. And it's the only game where nature truly favors us. We win in the long term. On any given day, we may all be bumbling idiots, but in the long run, we can all become princes. So, every day, each of us faces our own little insurmountable wall, our PMU, petty more insurmountable, for those in the know. The goal is to start the day by smashing that wall with a mighty blow. At the moment, you might not see where this will lead you, but have a little faith. Every morning, I ask myself, what am I procrastinating on the most? What's hiding in the corners of my mind that I'm about to gently sidestep, even though it's exactly what I need most to keep my adventure going? I pinpoint it, look it square in the face, and start by attacking it head on. Break down your walls, because in addition to moving you a step closer to your next kingdom, this daily push will give you the greatest gift of all, the calm pride of a day well spent, the artistic clarity. Symbolically, it's as if I've earned my right to exist. I know it might sound silly, but starting with the difficult, easy-to-avoid daily mission activates a powerful mechanism. It's winning the game before it even begins. I've done what matters most. I've validated the path for another day. I've anchored the trajectory. That's what carpe diem really means. Not just seize the day, but go out and meet the day, get ahead of it, honor it. Start by slicing through that oozing lethargy with a swift sword strike. After that, of course, we'll dance, rest, and enjoy the world. But first, tear down your daily wall. Feed the inertia of your destiny. That's the simple, yet crucial secret no one really talks about, even though it's the foundation for everything that follows. And I can't stress enough how much launching myself each day into my tough, little mission contributes to my mental well-being. It's ridiculously simple, but face the day. Grapple with it first and foremost. Man exists through action, through his unwavering obsession with organizing the world with his hands. The project, the projection, the construction. That's what sets a man on the path to his little daily happiness. It's hard. Of course it's hard. And it should be. Start by climbing the morning hill to catch the sun on the other side. Build your kingdom bit by bit. Where is your kingdom, my friend? Don't be one of those who lie idle beside their life, wondering why they're sinking into soul-crushing nihilism or pointless debauchery. As Albert Camus added, it's simply a matter of staying true to the rules of the fight. There always comes a time when you must choose between contemplation and action. And that's what it means to become a man. But all of it, is just the beginning. Stopping here is fine, but you'd be missing the main event. The grind is necessary, of course, but becoming obsessed with it alone is clearly a mistake. So let's move forward. Speak up as much as you can. There's chatter in my head, and I never want it to stop. Up there, it's crowded. The child, the adult, the artist, the businessman, the nihilist, and the believer. The decisive one and the hesitant one. The one who knows and the one who thinks he doesn't. The doubter and the mocker. There's the cynic and the lover. The kind and the cruel. The worker and the idle. And many more, each with their voice. The problem isn't that we contain all these different sides or impulses. The problem is that we deny them the right to an internal debate. That's my second little lesson for the day. Please, don't neutralize yourself. Don't pick one voice to dominate all the others. Don't appoint an unforgiving commander within you who silences every dissenting thought by force. I did that for a long time, and I paid the price. Growing up is about stabilizing your identity. It's about answering a persistent social demand. a big, anxiety-inducing question for many of us. Who are you? And no one wants to be a nobody. So, faced with this echoing question, we rush to the store and come out with an ill-fitting costume, awkwardly saying, "Here I am, this is who I am." But that decision comes with a price, even years later. You are not one-dimensional. You're not simple. You're not meant to play just one role. You don't need to amputate parts of yourself to fit into a basic, boring social costume. To be completely and unwaveringly at peace with yourself, that's like a flatline. You've got 86 billion neurons and you want to be coherent? You've got space, my friends. The stage is big enough for beautiful things to happen. Drama, lyricism, epic tales. Let it live. Let the set designers and artists sweat as they run from one end of the stage to the other. So, do you know what real courage is? True courage is embracing the chaos within, a constantly reconfiguring mess, and finding your freedom in it. That's the beauty of it. Let's remember old Nietzsche, who, in his final days, whispered through his Zarathustra, "One must carry a chaos within to give birth to a dancing star." Today, the driving force behind my vitality is dissonance. Yes, I'm a writer. Yes, I'm also a content creator online, an athlete, and an entrepreneur. Probably, I think. Yes, I love Western philosophical traditions. The Stoics, the wise Greeks, the Platonic or transcendent approach to the cosmos. But I'm just as passionate about Eastern doctrines, Hinduism, Buddhism, and everything in between. And from this kind of friction, all my creative energy is born. One morning I wake up holding my head in my hands, pondering the role of the ego, whether to strengthen it or dissolve it, and the different interpretations of masculinity across cultures, for example. But that's my personal bubble, and I'm not telling you to replicate it. I'm talking about the energy at play here. To be passionate in life, you need to have collisions happening within you. You have to make different worlds inside you engage in a dialogue that at first glance seems impossible. In the end, that's what hit me like a ton of bricks when the podcaster in me met the artist and the existential wanderer. Bam! It created something I never anticipated. When the athlete meets the artist, for instance, the same thing happens. Fascinating new dimensions emerge that I'm still discovering today. So yes, you need to be torn apart, pulled in different directions by everything that's going on inside you. There needs to be debate, things that keep you awake late into the night, and even the smallest trigger should set off a delightful mental diatribe. Because that's where the things that truly reflect who you are will come from, fruit of a recomposition that only you can bring to life. Every human struggles with dissonance. We're constantly pulled in opposite directions, whether it's about our values or life choices. The greatest thing you can do for yourself and others is to lead by example. Show that it's possible to unite polarities that we instinctively think are mutually exclusive. The intellectual and the bon vivant, the poet and the athlete, the writer and the entrepreneur. You'll find your own, of course, but the possibilities are endless. And it's from this movement that something new emerges, something we desperately need today. So, work magic with what's inside you. That's what it means to become an anomaly, to harbor a virtuous battle instead of resorting to an identity scorched earth strategy. Show people that their choice to retreat into a minimalist, simplified identity is a mistake. Test combinations that no one else dares to try. Embrace your dissonances. Wear them like a banner. To live with dissonance is to be called toward something. So accept the call and craft your identity, not by leaving parts out, but by weaving them in. Yes, it's difficult. It's much harder than rushing to adopt a prefab identity, but it's the path to something real, something meaningful. Third advice, the body, what it endures and what it lets go. Up until now, we've been focused a lot on the mind, on staying in our heads, but that's not going to be enough for the journey we're on. It took me a while to truly understand the role of the body in all of this. For a long time, I saw my body as something to be tamed, something that needed to endure and be ready for more endurance. Eventually, I realized that while this approach is good, it's just level 1. Putting your body through discomfort to feel better mentally, that's how most of our current Western sports models operate. It works, but if your physical practice is just that, you're probably missing out on the incredible potential your body holds. Your relationship with your body can't just be about occasional, increasing strain. The body is so much more. It's the vehicle of sensation, of ecstasy, the receptacle of messages and shivers. Your body has two main functions: to protect or serve, and to receive. The first is obvious, and I'm sure I don't need to tell you much about that. Train yourself however you choose. Make your body work. Give it shape. Feel and experiment with the cold, the heat, the challenge, the constraint, the strength, the failure, the breath. Allow yourself to experience the full range of physical sensations that life offers. Run until you can't run anymore. Let yourself be overpowered by someone stronger than you. Encounter roughness and challenge it. Always be curious about your physical limits. Confront the very essence of matter, especially if you, like me, tend to live in the world of ideas. This is absolutely crucial for people who are more intellectual to prioritize physical action as much as possible. Otherwise, you risk living only through proxy and mental images. I know many idea-driven individuals who have abandoned their bodies and the physical realm. They end up waiting for ideas, revelations, and a physical power that no idea, no matter how beautiful or true, can provide on its own without the aid of the body. If you'll allow me, the poet should do push-ups, and the athlete should read poetry. A strong body without grand ideas or creative inspiration is, of course, disappointing in every way. But a well-stocked mind that preaches beauty, yet is too prude to engage with the physical realm, is lamentably sophistic. We can assume that for a person who doesn't cheat, what they believe to be true should guide their actions, as Camus wrote. Thus, any philosophy that extols life, praises creation, and encourages courage must live, create, and practice its own courage daily by confronting the world with the body and its boldness. But your body is more than just that. Your body can do much more than merely contract. It can dance, breathe, expand, and even allow you to travel to other realms of reality. To confine the body to mere social domination and reassurance is to deprive yourself of so much. I can speak on this because I did it for so long. So please, be better than I was. Don't turn your temple into just a capitalist asset, destined for perpetual muscular purgatory to fit into a fictitious global social hierarchy, and punish yourself for past mistakes. Your physical practice can't just be driven by a shortcoming or fear. I say this, and some will recognize themselves in it. You need to get out of that mindset. If I can offer one piece of advice, learn to blend your physical functions. Meditate while training, wage war through breathing, dance while running, stretch while swimming. Break down the barriers in your physical practices. Your body isn't meant to be confined to a minimalist cycle. Contract, rest, 4 to 5 times a week for 1 hour each time. The struggle with oneself is part of the spectrum, but only a part. You can do so much more. Create your own physical rituals, your own games. Make your body an ally. Your body is a channel of reception. Don't think that inspiration, faith, passion, and enthusiasm can exist without your body when they are, above all, corporeal. Happiness starts with something simple, a body that's capable of calm. Before diving into complex emotions, you need a body that can shift from fight mode to savoring the joys of existence. Don't expect to find happiness if you can't first relax your shell and turn it into a source of pleasure, lying in the sun, doing nothing. As young Westerners, I have to say this: we are centuries behind in this regard. We need to step out of our physical battles and turn our bodies into allies that can fight, yes, but also love, feel, and sense. Apollo is great, but he's lacking in swing. Dionysus has a lot to teach us. One day, I'll bring people to the Andrew podcast to talk about breathing, meditation, and other fascinating physical practices. But for now, just observe a cat. Watch the next cat you see and take notes. Cats only contract their bodies when necessary. They are never anxious for long without reason. They sleep when they're tired and hunt when they feel like it. Fourth and final advice: seek something greater than yourself. Open that damned third eye. You've forgotten your insatiable need to feel small, to feel minuscule, while being part of something larger than yourself. You've forgotten that, at the core, you are nothing and everything at once. And that's catastrophic. I'll tell you very personally, in my daily life, I often felt like my existence was a small unit, detached from everything else, that the universe was inscrutable and silent, that destiny didn't exist, and that my daily problems were insurmountable mountains of prime importance. Well, yes, within 2 or 3 weeks I'd go crazy, or at least my vital energy would dwindle, unless I radically detached myself and found new coping mechanisms in things like consumption, the pursuit of hierarchical dominance, or addictive behaviors. This need for transcendence and belonging is perhaps the least addressed of the 4 needs I've discussed in this episode. Today, in our capitalist societies, we've managed to convince ourselves that we live in a radically random, cold universe without meaning or supernatural force. We've swallowed this idea without much questioning, but more selfishly, we believe we can live our little lives without touching the mystery of the universe. There isn't even a mystery, we think, because everything is absurd. Please stop with this adolescent view of an absurd universe and life. Even Camus didn't believe it. Lie in the grass and focus on the stamens and petals of a daisy for 30 minutes without moving. Draw your conclusions, then extend those conclusions to human civilization, consciousness, and your own life. I won't do the work for you. Those who seek always find. The only absurd thing here is your consciousness refusing to make an effort to shift perspective when the answers are right in front of you. So I'll tell you bluntly, you will never be entirely happy, at least not in the euphoric heights that life sometimes allows, if you don't make at least a small space in your daily life for spiritual ascent, and especially if you don't periodically submit to the weight of everything around you. Oh guys, we don't know anything at all, and you'll realize this sooner or later. While it might seem like this realization could be demoralizing, you'll actually find yourself more alive than ever, feeling light, and deep down, something will click into place. The more you feel tiny and overwhelmed, the more you'll be convinced you have something to do in this life. Go ahead, try it out. I swear it works. For me, images of space have always triggered a mix of anxiety and immense excitement, immediately putting me back on track by reminding me that my tiny earthly presence has not only meaning, but also purpose. The minuscule and the grandiose are lovers since the dawn of time, telling stories by the fire at night. The infinitely large gives reason to the infinitely small and vice versa, in an unperturbed dance since the world began. Being crushed reminds you that you have something to do here and that it's high time to get started. Let me tell you, losing your place, losing your size in the midst of all this chaos, that's what's tragic. It's living with your head down, thinking of yourself as the center of your small world. It's convincing yourself that your life has no purpose, no logic in the grand scheme of things. That's terrifying. I don't know how people live like that. No one can live happily thinking the world is that way. Look up and tremble as you realize you're not much, yet you are here. That's essential for living happily, or at least for trying to live happily. You need to be overwhelmed by the beauty of the world, by your artistic mission, by your connection to the divine, or by the breaking of your ego, and so on. To do that, you need to break free from your daily existence. You need to become human again. Stop being dozing buffaloes or stubborn primates. You're alive. It's time to collide and embrace your friend, laughing and crying. It's time to tear down that social filter that harms and limits you. It's time to allow yourself to be odd but alive, arrogant yet driven, strong but vibrant, humble yet grand. Spread love around you, sincerity that disarms. Remind people they are human. Show them what it really means to be human. If you can't find a reason to live, then live as an example, so others have a good reason to live. Be a prince of intensity and love, a leader in war and peace, and watch them ask, How? How did you do it? By crying, shouting, waking up your body, following the artistic call. And if I can do it, I believe you can too. It starts with a coffee every morning and a form of active integrity. Small, repetitive tasks, and ends in the grass, staring at the sky at 6 a.m., breathing deeply and thinking, wow, I think I've got it. From the rock to the cosmos, here is the man, hunched but slowly rising, smiling in the midst of suffering, smiling with tears in his eyes. Imagine a man confident in his place, happy, hardworking, and animated. Imagine all men like this, and imagine what it would be like. I'll leave you to compose the rest. I have many more pieces of advice to share on how to go further, like the importance of friendship, which is a major force in achieving your own happiness. Also, learning not to let your desires be stolen, the crucial importance of periodic disappearance, the role of melancholy and creation in daily happiness. But this video would be far too long. I hope this video finds its place, that it resonates with those it was meant for. I swear, these 4 pillars, daily work, identity, freedom, physical training, and the quest for mystery, are the foundation of your small happiness. The rest exists, but not without these 4 fundamental pillars. Start with these. Until next time.